Hi
We're so
everyone.
excited.
Welcome.
Hi,
Welcome.
everybody. We're so glad that you guys are here. We're going to just wait a few more seconds before we get started. Caden is on our campus right now, as you can see
Woo!
behind him, kind of. So, live from Biola University for you.
Yay. Mm.
Okay, you guys, we're so excited that you guys came to this event. We really wish that we could be together in person, but because of the circumstances, we're just glad that we just get to be together in general. Biola Bound was really created for students who live out of state, international students, Northern Californian students. And so this is just an opportunity for you to see what life is like in Southern California. We're again so excited that you are here, and throughout this session, we're going to go through some introductions, some personal stories of our experiences from out of state, and then we're going to go through some questions. We have some pre-written questions, but we also encourage you to send in questions that you may have, and then we will answer them at the end. So we're going to start with introductions, and I'll start. My name is Deborah. I'm a senior psychology major here at Biola, and I transferred from Pennsylvania. So I'm super excited to be here, and really excited to be at this session with you guys. I will pass it off to Erin.
Hi, everybody. My name is Erin. I'm a sophomore psychology major here at Biola, and I'm from Buffalo, New York. And so this is my first year being in California from New York. And so it's been pretty crazy, but super fun. And again, like Deborah said, super excited for this. Okay, Caden.
Yeah, hi everyone. My name is Caden. I am a senior this year at Biola, looking ahead to graduation in 3 weeks now, which is crazy. But I am originally from DeMont, Indiana. So it's a very small town, Northwest Indiana, about an hour across the border from Chicago. So yeah, I've been coming back and forth to Biola for the last 4 years now. I actually got a memory on my phone today that this was the day 4 years ago that I made my decision to come to Biola. So that's really exciting and just crazy to look back on my time here. Yeah.
Yeah. So we're going to move into the next section now. We're just going to share a little bit about our stories, what our journeys were to coming to Biola, and why we chose to leave home to come to Biola. So we're going to pass it back over to Erin to get us started on that.
Cool. All right. So it's always like a hard thing when they're just like, tell your story, because I have so many things I want to say. But so pretty much I'm a transfer to Biola this year. I grew up in Buffalo, and then I went to a college in Virginia, and then I came out to Biola here in California. So pretty much I always knew that I wanted to go to school out of state. None of my friends went out of state. Nobody in my family has ever gone out of state. So like, needless to say, I was kind of intimidated, but also super, super excited to see like where that would take me, where the Lord would show me on my way to California or wherever I ended up. But yeah, I pretty much wanted to go out of state because of a bunch of different reasons. One, I'm not a fan of cold weather. I hate it. It's the worst thing. Snow. Caden and Deborah both know that like snow is just not it. So I was just super excited to come to California to get away from that and to just enjoy the sunny weather. It's like there's not even a cloud in the sky right now, super blue. So that was just one really cool thing that I was looking forward to in college. Just studying outside is like a bigger deal than it seems until you get to here. But yeah, I wanted to go out of state also just because I wanted to expand my understanding of the world around me. And I grew up in a really small farm town. I grew up on a farm. I knew everybody in my graduating class. And I think one thing that going to school out of state has really showed me that like I can have the confidence and courage to push my boundaries and push my comfort zone. And you just get to know so many people's different experiences that are just so different than your own. And it's super enriching. As a bio student, if you do come here in the fall or whenever, we talk a lot about worldview, and sometimes it can get kind of annoying. You're like, okay, worldview, I'm over it, stop talking about it. But truly, like having my worldview just expanded by the groups of people that I've encountered over here in Los Angeles has been incredible. Biola has so many different international, so many students from outside of Southern California coming from across the country or even Northern California. And it's just super cool to experience culture and a life that I couldn't have had in my small town in Buffalo, New York. So yeah, I think that's been the biggest thing, is just being able to meet people, push my comfort zone, and allow the Lord to give me the confidence to be in a place where I don't know anybody. I didn't know anybody outside of like west of New York when I came out here. So it's definitely intimidating. And you guys are probably coming from outside of Southern California. So you're like, I don't know, this might be intimidating, this might be super exciting. But wherever you fall on that spectrum, just know that the Lord is going to do so many great things with you. And it is going to be scary, and you are going to miss home for a little bit. But overall, just the things that you learn and the people that you meet are just going to be so incredible. So yeah, that's pretty straightforward. Like my story, I've always wanted to go out of state, and Biola just had the perfect weather. It had the perfect apartments. It had the diverse culture that I wanted to be a part of in a big city. And yeah, I definitely have no regrets coming out of my small little town, because it's allowed me to grow so much. But yeah, so that's a little bit about my story, and then we can go ahead and whoever wants to share next.
Yeah, I can hop on that. I had a similar story to Erin. Yeah, being from the Midwest, my family all went to school in the Midwest. Yeah, actually, my parents went out of state, but they were in Iowa, so it was like still a very similar situation to where I grew up. Same kind of cultural and experience as the place that I grew up. So I kind of always thought I would stay around home for school until I got to my senior year and realized, wow, I like this is a time in my life when I could go anywhere. And this is a time in my life where I really want to be experiencing new things. And so I um, knew that the one thing I wanted was a very good, solid Christian school that would, like Erin talked about, just like form my worldview so amazingly in yeah, with professors and other people who are teaching me about my studies through a Christian perspective, and also a campus and a community that would be from that perspective too. So from there, I just started looking into other Christian schools. Stumbled upon Biola because it was recommended to me from a friend who was going here. And I came out and visited campus and just really fell in love with it. And I could sense that people here were such genuine Christians and wanted to be pouring into others. Met with some professors who I had the same feeling from. And so that was the biggest thing that drew me all the way out here from the Midwest. I was also really excited about different programs here. Erin mentioned just like the diversity of Biola's campus really reflects the surrounding area that we're in. So being in Los Angeles, like it's just such a global, like cultural epicenter. Like it's an amazing place to be. So Biola really reflects that. And yeah, the Torrey Honors College was another big thing that drew me. I had never heard of a program like it and was really drawn in by the way that learning is done in Torrey as well. So those were all big reasons that I came out to Biola. But yeah, being from so far away, I can say that like my experience at first was all just a whirlwind of excitement of being away from home, but also so difficult. Like I kind of got through that first month of real excitement and just set in of like, oh, like I actually do miss my mom and like my friends from school and things like that. So yeah, as you're looking into going into a college out of state, don't let that like prevent you from it, but just like be aware of that there's going to be hard things, probably some homesickness that I think it's really worth it to just lean into those things. And as you're experiencing those things, be pushed to, yeah, join communities around you, be intentional, find other out of state students here at Biola who are also looking for that same community and want to be in community with you. So my experience was really, really awesome. I loved being here at Biola. It's been such a great, like, very safe feeling community for me to like be here, be a part of, and also have the experience of living across the country in Los Angeles, where I can get to the beach in 30 minutes or to the mountains in an hour and be in downtown with all these things going on. So it's really been such a great experience, and something that has, like, as Erin talked about, just like my worldview and even just, yeah, knowledge of other kinds of people than myself and the place that I grew up has expanded so much and in so many exciting ways. So yeah, that was my experience. Deborah, do you want to talk about yours?
Yeah, it's really cool to hear everybody's experience because we all have different journeys. And for me, my journey was a little bit different. I went to community college in Pennsylvania, and then I actually transferred to a 4-year private university, probably like 40 minutes from my house. And I pretty much thought like I was going to graduate there, and that was like my choice of school, and I was super excited about it. But once I got there, I started to realize that there wasn't like an emphasis on like Christianity, and it wasn't a Christian university. But I kind of expected to go and to meet people who kind of thought like me and were who wanted to be in like the environment that um, we were that I think is found at Biola. And so I quickly realized that I wanted to transfer, just because I was surrounded by people who didn't value the Lord and didn't value like what it just means to sit with God and to lean on God. And so I basically decided to take a semester off and to just consider what I wanted to do. And then God just put California on my heart. Interestingly enough, my friend who had moved to LA, he was a childhood friend. He had met his wife and moved to LA, and they came back for their wedding in Pennsylvania. And that's when I was kind of like, oh, California sounds kind of cool, you know, and I started to pray about it. And then I Googled best psychology program in the United States, and Rosemead, which is our grad program here, actually came up. And that day I actually called our admissions staff and just talked to them and just shared that I was interested and asked for information. And my admissions counselor asked me about who I was and what the Lord had done in my life. And pretty much that day, I decided I was going to go to Biola, regardless of what was going to happen. It was so cool how God just like put this goal and put people who are so intentional, because that's what I was looking for, like intentional staff and intentional friends and intentional professors. And within that afternoon, I pretty much knew like I was going to transfer to Biola. So that's kind of what my journey looked like. And why I chose to leave home was because I was excited to kind of experience something different, but it was not on my radar. I never thought that I would live in a different state. I imagined at some point, but not for my college experience. And so it was a little bit different just going, but I think I was super excited because I do love adventure, and I felt the Lord in the midst of what I was doing. So it was one of those like imagine like jumping off of like a diving thing into like a pool, but like you're blindfolded and you know that there's water there, but also you're like, is there water there? That's how I felt. I was like, okay, God, like I know you're there and I'm gonna do it, but also I have no idea where I'm going, what I'm doing, who I'm gonna meet. And it was just really cool to see how God has just completely like moved in that journey with friends and with professors. And I can't speak enough about like the intentionality at Biola. Like you will be known by more than just your friends, and you can go to the cafeteria and have lengthy conversations about God and the world and things that you're passionate about with anybody in that room. And so it has been a really cool journey to be here. So that's a little bit about what my journey looked like and what our journeys look like. We're gonna now move into our pre-written questions. If you would like to submit questions as we're talking, you are welcome to submit them. And Kaylor, who is also in here, who's running this event, she will put them up for us to answer for you guys. I'm gonna pass it off to Erin, and she's gonna start with the first question for us.
Awesome. So the first question that we have is, what was your transition into Biola like? So I think for me personally, I have a bit of a unique one, along with my classmates, is that I transitioned during a global pandemic. Fun times. But so I think that kind of brought another sense of like uncertainty and like uneasiness already thinking about going to a new state. I've only been to California a couple times before I came here. And again, I didn't know anybody out here, anything. So I just moved out here, met some girls on Instagram to room with, and then we just moved out here. And it was crazy. But like Deborah was talking about, the intentionality of the people that go to Biola, the people that work at Biola is insane. I was not even here like a couple days and I already had people calling to check in on me, see how I was doing, see if they could help me out with anything. I had people in the area that were reaching out to make sure that I, had community and was like trying new things and getting out of the house, because sometimes that can be scary when you're in a new place. You just kind of want to like wall up in your room and not really do anything and just kind of watch out the window. But there are people that are so intentionally wanting to build community with you, and get to know you. And your professors want to get to know your story, and they understand that you're far away from home and they want to talk about it. They want to make sure that you feel welcomed and you feel at home. But yeah, other like on the more fun note, one thing about transitioning into Biola that has been so crazy coming from a different culture and everything, like I've been learning how to do so many things, learning so many like new foods and trying new foods, trying new things. So it's been like nothing but joyful. I feel like even through the hardships, like I have this posture of joy coming into Biola because I know that's where the Lord has led me. And like even things that I never thought I would be doing, like I went surfing yesterday, and like things like that. That is something I never expected to get out of college. But yeah, transitioning to Biola, there's people who want you to try these new things, want you to take advantage of the culture that you have around you and all the resources and people that surround you as well. So yeah, again, like Hayden talked about, you probably will have a little bit of homesickness, but like you do have a community here that's like here to be your second home, here to be your comfort for you as you transition, and they want you to have fun too. So yeah, I would say that's been my transition so far. But I'll go off to Kaden for our next question.
Okay, great. The next question we have are, what were some challenges you faced as an out-of-state student that local students may not have experienced? One of the biggest challenges was even just logistics, like how am I gonna get my stuff across the country? I have flown to Biola for most of my trips out here. So I always fly Southwest, which I always recommend to people. You get 2 free checked bags, which is amazing. And yeah, also like carry-ons as well. So I've had times where I took 2 checked bags, a carry-on suitcase, and my guitar, like all on the plane with me, which was just amazing. But yeah, it can be a challenge. And so I did things like ordered a lot of stuff on Amazon and had it shipped here, or just went to Bed Bath and Beyond like during orientation week to get my things. Took advantage of Savers, the local thrift store, of like just getting cheap things or books from, there's a website called Biola Classifieds, which like are Biola students who want to sell things to other Biola students. So I really took advantage of things like that when I was moving, because yeah, being from so far away, it's just really hard to get a bunch of like physical things across the country with you. Another thing that I faced was a challenge, was being in contact with people from home was really hard. Honestly, just because of the time zone difference. Like for me, it's a 2-hour difference from here to there. So I would be like finishing dinner and want to call a friend from home, and they'd be like, "Oh, like I'm gonna go to bed soon. Like, sorry, can we talk tomorrow?" Like things like that. And so I just had to be like really aware of like, I'm kind of living in 2 different time zones. Of people from home are, yeah, a lot later than I am. So like those were 2 pretty unique challenges that I just had to figure out. And I think the biggest thing was finding a church community. Because I'm not local, I didn't already have that church community. So that was one of my biggest things, was at first just like going to quite a few churches and then just committing to one, because that is such a necessary thing, to be involved in a local church, because you get community from people who aren't just at Biola. Like yeah, I'm in church with and in a small group with people who are like in their 70s, or like young married couples having kids. And so that was a really unique thing that took me a while, but I would recommend so much to out-of-state students to just get involved in a local church, because there's so many in the Biola area that are awesome to be involved in. So yeah, Deborah, do you want to go to our next question?
Yeah, I will talk about I will add a little bit more to like how I stayed connected with people back home. So that I agree with Kaden. It's definitely different. We share the same, like with the same time zone thing. Pennsylvania's 3 hours ahead. And I have a lot of like mentors and friends in Pennsylvania who I love and get to see. And I would just say it's all in intentionality. Like we all kind of came to a place where we recognize that I might not be responding or talking or calling as much as I used to, but in the moments where we were calling or talking, that we were so intentional in those spaces. And then also, honestly, like I would say being across the country is kind of fun in some ways. You do get to travel. It can be very like draining. So I would also just say, like, I remember like my first year, I flew home like 12 times in a year, which was a lot of traveling. And so I was always at the airport, and it's a 6 hour flight there and back. So it's just a lot. And it's so fun, right? Like you're at the airport and you get to see people, but you also just have to like take care of yourself. Sometimes I'm like such a talker. So like every flight, I was like, I can't wait to see who sits next to me. I can't wait to talk to them. I can't wait for them to be my friends. And then halfway through, I was like, Deborah, like it's okay to sit down and to just wave at your partner who's next to you and just put your AirPods in, you know? So like just like take care of yourself. And I would say with people back home, like send them the text, even if they're like an hour ahead or they're asleep. And in the morning they'll respond, and call them even if they're asleep, and they might pick up or call you back the next day. Leave a voicemail, write a letter. Like I know those things are kind of like taboo now, but the people that you love who live, whether in California or out of state, you're going to maintain contact with them somehow, and you'll kind of get into a rhythm of that. So that's how I have been able to stay connected with people back home.
Cool. Okay, I will take the last pre-submitted question, and then we'll go into some of the questions that you guys submitted. But this one says, how has being an out-of-state student caused you to grow? Oh my gosh, I could talk about this for hours, but I'll try to like wrap it up as much as I can. Like I was talking about before, like the whole idea of like a worldview, my worldview per se was limited to like small town farm New York, okay, which isn't very like a large worldview. But out here, like you just again come in contact with so many people that cause you to like rethink like the things that you've grown up knowing, or the things that you've grown up valuing or believing. And not saying like they're going to pull you like to one certain side or the other, but it's just really going to cause you to think like, oh wow, I've never knew that like somebody out here could experience that type of thing. And so just relationally, it has helped me grow so much. Just learning how to have conversations with certain people about just conversations that I've never had to have in my lifetime. But yeah, so that's been really cool relationally. And then just like emotional maturity comes so much with being out of state, just understanding how to hold your own, and just like there's so many crazy things that I didn't know how to like take care of, that I have had to help call my parents constantly and be like, why do you do this? I don't know how to do this. I've never completely lived on my own before, type of thing. So definitely like give yourself some grace with that if you do come out of state. It's a lot to learn, but you grow so quickly and you get to learn so much about yourself. I've learned that like when given the opportunity and my boundaries are pushed in a positive way, that like I'm capable of so many more things than I thought, and like can be a part of a space that I never thought I could be a part of. So I think like I don't know if this is making sense. I feel like I'm just constantly going in circles, but I just feel like there's so much personal growth and personal, like finding out your identity, finding out who you are and what you believe is an incredible thing that happens when you come out of state, especially to a school like Biola that is so like faith-based, and the community of people are all like believers in Jesus. You grow so much and you learn about like who you are, what my identity is, and like where do I want to be and see myself in the future. So and think like you're probably like, Erin, how does moving across the country for college give you all of that revelation? But I promise it will come. You'll have a moment, it's going to hit you, and you're going to be like, oh my gosh, I'm not the same person I was when I was at home. So yeah, it's been really fun. And also, like I said, you try new things. I never knew I liked Mexican food as much as I do out here, and I never knew how to surf, but now I can, I guess. Just like things like that are super fun. So yeah, I'll leave it at that, or else I'm just gonna go in circles more and more. Um, but yeah, I will pass it back on to Deborah for our next question.
Yeah, so we're going to transition into the pre-written questions. So if you have any more, you can go ahead and submit those. We have a few. So Kaden is going to answer our first question.
All right, great. So the first question that we had chatted in, which you guys please feel free to do that. We'd love to answer questions. Yeah, was it hard to get accepted into Biola applying from out of state? It wasn't any harder, I would say, than it is for a normal student. So yeah, Biola isn't looking at like whether you're out of state or not, things like that. Like they're just looking for, first of all, like grades, how you did in high school, if you're a good student, and also in things like your personal essay, they're looking in what kind of person are you? Like, do you love the Lord? Are you wanting to follow him? And yeah, just like what your testimony is. So I wouldn't say it's any harder than a normal, not normal, than a student who is in California. So yeah, I'll pass it on to Erin for the next question.
All right, sweet. So this one says, how often are you able to visit your home state? So I guess it's a little bit different in like an online setting because you can do classes from home, which is fun. But even when I didn't go to Biola and went to out of state in another school, I make it a point to visit every once in a while. You get a lot of breaks here at Biola, whether that's for like a conference or spring break or something like that. You can always go home if you're close or far away if you feel like you don't have an overwhelming amount of schoolwork at that time. It's kind of like you play it by ear a lot as you are at Biola. If you like see, oh, I have a week ahead, or I have Easter weekend off or something like that, you can always try to plan and go visit at home. But one cool thing about being here as well is that a lot of our students that are from far away, and I'm sure that Kaden and Deborah, you have experiences with this as well. But for holidays and things like that, if you're like, it's going to be too draining for me to go home, I don't really want to spend $500 on a plane ticket, things like that. People welcome you into their home. I know, like this past semester, I spent Thanksgiving at a friend's house about an hour south of LA. Just stayed for the day. And so that's just super fun. I felt like I had a community and a family, even though I was away from home. So there are going to be times where you're going to miss home and want to go home, but also if you do have breaks, you can always visit with your friends, and people are always welcoming you into their home. So you'll never be fully homesick for long. So there's always a place to go. But yeah, and then Deborah, you can answer our next question.
So the last question is, when is the earliest move-in date for out-of-state freshmen? So classes start on August 30th, and students are generally invited to move in the week before. So there isn't like a specific date that out-of-state freshmen can move in versus in-state. At least I don't think that that's the case. I think everybody's invited to move in the week before, but I recommend you just email your admissions counselor to just check in on the exact dates so you could kind of figure out what that would look like for you as a student. All right, we are going to close out the session. If there are any more questions, we still have a few minutes. If you guys would like to submit them or even unmute and ask them, you're totally welcome to. But I will hand it over to Kaden to finish this out.
Yeah, great. Yeah, be sure to get those questions in if you've got them. We would love to answer. But I guess I can just end with like an encouragement to you all as you're thinking about going to school out of state. Maybe it's a state right next door, or it's a state across the country, or if you're coming from out of the country, like there are so many people here at Biola who want to be in community with you and make that experience the best it possibly can, especially if you want a very intentional Christ-centered community. Like Biola is the place for you. It was such an amazing experience for me, and like I said, like looking back on my decision 4 years ago that I did that, I couldn't have even imagined like all the people that I would meet here, the ways that I would change throughout college by being away from home and away from the community that I was used to. And like both Erin and Deborah and I have touched on, like it is such an amazing, eye-opening and yeah, life-changing experience to do that. So before I pray us out, I'll remind you guys that we have another Eagles Connect session that's happening at 6 p.m. Pacific time. And there will be a virtual Disney escape room, which is exciting. And we'll have prizes for the winners. So we hope to see you there. And without further ado, I'll just pray us out. All right. Lord, I pray that you would be with each one of these students as they are thinking about transitioning into college. I pray especially for them as they are looking at colleges and Biola that is out of state for them, far away from home and family and the people that they know and love. I pray that you would be with them as they are getting ready to make that transition, that they could finish out time living at home well. And also be excited to come here to campus. Please provide community and an amazing experience for each one of these students. And we pray this all in Jesus' name. Amen. All right. You guys are free to go. Thanks so much for being with us. And we hope to see you on campus.